Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Batman 145. This is the beginning of a new arc. So let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez, Tommy Moret on colors, letters by Clayton Cowles. So, as I mentioned, this kicks off a new story. We also have a little story called Joker Revelations in the back. So make sure to stay tuned for that at the don't stay tuned. Just keep reading at the back of the book. Um, that was really interesting and surprising. I really like how much Chip is really digging into the new 52 era of the Batman as well as all the other stuff that he's kind of pulling in. But the new 52 is where I kind of started reading. So whenever something pops up, like it's very noticeable to me, and I really, really like that. So let me tell you a little bit about this new thrilling arc. Dark Prisons begins following the Joker Year One stunning reveal. Batman must engineer an escape from Source Prison. What that reveal was, you'll have to go back and read it. I'll talk about it later in the video. I don't want to spoil anything from Joker Year One just yet. But what secret does Sur now hold that is a game changer for the Dark Knight and the entire DC universe? That part we'll definitely won't get into because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. But uh, overall, this issue kicked a lot of ass. I've really been a pretty big fan of this run so far. I think Chip Zdarsky's scratching at all corners of like the Batman mythology, and he's really taken this idea of the Zur-En-Arrh Batman and molded it to what he needs for this story, right? Whether it was kicking off with failsafe and just kind of putting little pieces into place every time, all leading up to this. I think the Joker Year One reveal was really interesting. So I'm gonna go into a little bit of details on that. So, spoiler ahead for Joker Year One for the last three issues. So in that book, we learned that one of the people that showed Batman how to compartmentalize his own mind to create the Sur-En-Arrh Batman also showed the Joker how to do it. Now, is that the last of the involvement of this person? Is that the reason that Failsafe also captured I guess Zur-En-Arrh Batman now? As he is in the body of Failsafe. It's very complicated. If you have been reading, I will say this is not a good place to start. Um, but yeah, like that same individual showed Joker how to compartmentalize his own mind, and now that Bruce and Joker are kind of being held captives together by Failsafe or Sur-En-Arrh, um, what's going to happen to Gotham, right? Gotham is kind of at the mercy of this new Batman Sur-En-Arrh that is the purest essence of Batman in this body that cannot be stopped. So let's take a look at some of the preview art because Jorge Jimenez just continues to do amazing work. Now, it's rare for me to see a lot of faces with Jimenez's work, like for the most part, because he's done a lot of Batman and other masked heroes. You don't get to see a lot of his facial expressions, but he's really nailing it. Like, the stern look that we see here in Bruce's face, and then just the jovial look of like Joker just really, he's enjoying so much that Bruce is in this situation. And he kind of loves taking the piss out of him. I really, really like that. Um, it's a very intricate relationship that's going on here. We do get to see what's going on with the cave. How I love this shot of just the back of Zur-En-Arrh because it obviously gives also a little bit of a throwback to the original Batman with the longer cape, the pointier ears. But of course we know what's hiding behind that, what behind the cape and cowl, right? And it's a more violent Batman, a Batman that will take the city and hold it kind of hostage under the pretense of upholding justice. The Bat family is also involved here. Jason comes back after some events that happen in a different book. I haven't read that, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But last time we saw Jason in a Batman book, he was really, really Batman really, Bruce really screwed him over. So, yeah, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of really cool things here, um, and I think Chip Zdarsky is going to keep exploring this depth of the characters in the Zuranar mythology until we really hit bottom, both for Bruce and for the story. And from there, hopefully, we can reemerge and Bruce can come back triumphant. But this, I feel like this story is already changing him kind of forever. I don't know how Batman lost a hand. I don't know how we're coming back from that. So hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for the Batman First Night #1. This is one of three from Black Label. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this comic. This book is written by legend Dan Jurgens, with art and a cover by Mike Perkins, colors by Mike Spicer, letters by Simon Bolin. We'll also see some variant covers at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. So, in this issue, witness the earliest days of the Dark Knight. Legendary writer Dan Jurgens and superstar Mike Perkins team up to retell one of Batman's most infamous cases through an acutely modern lens. The year is 1939. The world is still reeling from the horrors of the First World War, and it's on the brink of tipping even into a more gruesome conflict as fascism is on the march. And gathering the strength in America's darkest corners, against this backdrop, a series of violent murders has begun in Gotham, and the recent emergence of a mysterious vigilante known as the Batman has the power brokers of the city living in fear of institutional collapse. All of the evidence in the murder investigation defines logic. The perpetrators are all men who died in the electric chair, but when the Batman comes to face with one of these sickening anomalies, he barely escapes with his life, throwing into question his ability to survive in a world that is brutally evolving around him. Uh, wow, this. So I wasn't aware that this book was going to be happening, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to read it because it is fantastic. I just love a good throwback to to stories, to a world that we are familiar with. I recently read a bunch of like really old Batman issues from like the 30s and the 40s because I was doing I was part of an episode with my friend Paul on I Read Comic Books for the Better Batmobile season 2, and we just went back and read a whole bunch of old stories. So I think it's really cool to take all that world building that comic creators did back in the late 30s and 40s, and recontextualize it for a modern audience. Be able to really tell and expand on those stories, right? I think stories back then were definitely a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward and to the point. But here we have a series that is 48 pages each issue. You have a lot of room to breathe. The artists have so much more room on the page, and they just also have the ability to, this has probably been in the works for a little while now because Black series, DC label Black Label series, have just so much more runway to be planned. So I'm very excited for this. And it was just really interesting to read. It's really a very in-depth dive at this world of Gotham in this time. Um, and Mike Perkins manages to capture that darkness and that tone, kind of like the underbelly. This is what you would find on the other side of those comics, I would think, in the old, those old comics, because a lot of those comics are really bright. They're kind of goofy. This is what you would see on the other side. So really interesting to explore that. And of course, Dan Jurgens, he knows so much of this stuff. Like he's probably forgotten more about a lot of this mythology than a lot of us know. So yeah, it is just a really really cool project. I will say this read very well, but I think it will read so much better as a complete story. So I read the issue #1 to make a review for everyone, but I think I'm gonna wait out on the next two issues. So we'll probably revisit this once the series is complete. So stay tuned to the channel for that. So let's take a look at some of the preview art. We got a few pages, um, and like I said, you can really tell like it's it's a visual feast when it comes to looking at this old Gotham. They're the setup, like the relationships, also looking back at like the old technology and just the way the city would have been laid out in the 30s. It's really interesting. um, I really like this page with everyone kind of crowding the police and trying to figure out what's going on, right? Because this was not a usual scene. And Mike Perkins and Dan Jurgens are definitely going for it when it comes to the violence and the gore. It makes sense that this is a DC Black Label book. So yeah, like they are not holding back. As you saw in the cover, and you'll see in the covers at the end of the video, they're definitely using that, the Batman. Even in the synopsis, the Batman is spelled with the hyphen because that's the way it was spelled in the first issue. Eventually, DC um, got rid of that. I believe, like in the next two issues or so, they just they put it all together. But they use that the style with the long ears and the purple gloves, and just really a throwback to that first issue, before we even we had anything close to the Batman that we know today. So really cool stuff. Really enjoy this. I think this is gonna look beautiful. I can't wait for the collection. DC Black Label collections are some of the most beautifully designed comic books out there. So definitely recommend you check this out. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Birds of Prey number 7. This is a new comic book from DC Comics, also the beginning of a new two-part arc, Undercover Animals. This is written by Kelly Thompson with Javier Pina on art, Jordi Belair on colors, Clayton Cowles on letters, and a cover by Leonardo Romero as well. So Leonardo Romero was the main artist for most of the first arc. You've heard me talk about that. But let me tell you, if Javier Pena had been the fill-in artist for that, I believe issue 5, I I think it would. His style is so different. I'm sorry, his style is so similar to Leonardo Romero on like the just the feel of it. The aesthetic is very similar. Like they're still pretty distinct on their own. Uh, but as I mentioned, I believe in previous reviews, issue 5, the artist, which was pretty great. It was just so different that it was kind of a jarring experience. But for this here feels like a very smooth transition into like we're in a different arc. Things can be a little different, but also they're gonna have a very same vibe. All this being driven by Kelly Thompson's really uh, amazing way to explore the story. Right. Of course, I think the stakes have been raised. We have a time traveler that's giving us a little bit of information. Barbara Gordon's in danger. Well, we all love Batgirl, so like obviously the reader and the Birds of Prey don't want to see anything happen to her. So in this issue, new mission, new team. Sin is alive and back with Black Canary in Gotham City, and the world didn't get destroyed, but the cost was high, and nobody's exactly sure what it means yet. Shocking revelations in the wake of the Birds' first mission led to Dinah to a conspiracy against the Birds of Prey and a whole new mission. Hold on to your butts. Indeed, I'm very excited to see, first of all, what this team is kind of going to look like. I feel like these first two these issues are going to be a nice transition into this new team, um, which is great for pacing reasons. I think this just really works. I also love seeing Barbara as part of the Birds of Prey. Like, it's just a classic move, but it's still very different, right? It still has a different feel. It has a feel of something that's new and unexplored. And I think Kelly Thompson's really taking advantage of that to make sure to deliver a really fun story. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. And as you can see here, as I mentioned, it's not the same. Like it's definitely very different, but because Pena's style just really gives me that a little bit of that classic old school look, but also kind of updated for contemporary times. And also the continuity of having Jordi Belair on colors really makes this feel like it's kind of just a really nice follow up from the first arc. So really enjoy this. Great conversations. I love that Barbara's always doing something, even though she's like she's always multitasking. That just really feels like Barbara Gordon. And then just there's not a lot of action happening in this first few preview pages, but this is a Birds of Prey book. You're gonna get some action. There's gonna be some ass kicking, but at the core of it is this mystery of how the world, or who is behind this conspiracy that has been uncovered. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Blue Beetle #7. This is a new book from DC Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Josh Trujillo with multiple artists like Adrian Gutierrez, Natasha Bustos, Howard Porter, Cully Hamner, Scott Collins. We also have multiple colorists, Will Quintana, Natasha colors her own stuff, Hi-Fi. We also have Laura Martin and Luis Guerrero, and Lucas Gattoni, of course, continuing to do letters. We have some really cool covers. You'll see some of those at the end of the video. And of course, this is all in tribute and with a lot of love to the legendary Keith Giffen. So I'm very excited for this issue. We got to talk to Josh Trujillo a couple of weeks ago, and we definitely explored a little bit of this. We knew that the Scarab War has just finished, and there's still a lot of threads that are hanging. But the important part is what's going on with Ted. Where is Ted? We got to find them, and who better to help out than his best friend and our best friend, our favorite superhero from the future, Booster Gold. So in this issue, guest starring Booster Gold, in order to get to Ted Cord back on his feet, Jaime will need to work with Booster Gold. Can this blue and gold pairing help their friend or Ted's superheroing days over? So there's going to be a time shenanigans. This is the time hopping makes sense. That's why we have multiple artists. I think we have a lot of artists that are very known for working either with these characters or really in the style that's needed for the story. And you'll see what I'm talking about. I have preview art for a couple of the stories or a couple of the different artists. And although this is not really an anthology, the time hopping really makes it feel like each little morsel of the comic, it's kind of its own little thing that builds into this larger thing. So let's take a look at some of that preview art here. And Josh Trujillo is just writing something that's so much fun. I think it's very light in the tone when you compare it to what we just read in the past 6 issues. I think the addition of Booster Gold will always help that. And then just look at the insane art. This has to be, I'm pretty sure this is Adrian Gutierrez's art, who is our main artist on the Blue Beetle book. So really, really cool to see. I love Gutierrez's design of Jaime, especially like his hair makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I just love that Ted's kind of fidgeting around with stuff and time travel shenanigans happens because you can't trust those fears for time travel. So, and Josh, our one of the hosts on our show, is gonna love this issue because he loves Ambush Bug, and we can see here we get to see the Justice League International at their embassy when they used to kind of hang out together. And of course, Ambush Bug, Maxwell Lord, and so many other characters that you're just going to have so much fun with. So, yeah, I think if you're a fan of either Keith Giffen, the Justice League International, the Blue Beetle, any of them, this book is a really nice, not only tribute, but also just kind of a love letter to the character. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting that DC is doing things like this that will kind of build on the story, but also pay a little bit of tribute and homage to things that have come in the past. You get a lot of really cool cameos in the book, including Lobo, as you saw on the cover. What the hell is the main man going to be doing here? So, yeah, really cool stuff. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.